What's up, everybody? Welcome to McKerracher Family Farm. What you're about to be watching is something that happened on April 18th for Earth Day in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. I want to say thank you to all the amazing organizations involved with that. Thanks for having me out there to speak as a representative of our farm. And it was really great to sit on a panel with Ellen. For those who don't know, she does a lot of work in organic, regenerative farming in the area. She's been around for a long time doing really good work. And so she's a very inspiring figure, and it was a total honor to be on a panel with her. Everything was filmed by our friend and intern of this year, Alex Sappington. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of like walk around and like show you all the farm while saying that that's what you'll be watching here on this video. So stick around. You can listen to it like a podcast. You don't have to watch it with your eyeballs if you don't want to. Let us know what you think down below. Share this with anybody you're interested in sharing it with. If you're interested in learning about our farm, if you're interested in learning a little bit about Wendell Berry, this is a great place to jump in because this video we're about to play for you begins right when the documentary called Look and See, a Portrait of Wendell Berry had finished playing. And so there were 20 people in the audience who had just seen this documentary. Once it ends, they clap and then introduce us. And so that's where the video begins. Us talking about our farms after people had just watched this very inspiring documentary. Yeah, hope you enjoy. Take care.
We have a couple of our wonderful farmers with us today. Dave McKerracher. He's out of Kerrywood and produces food and raises animals, is at the farmer's market. He focuses on no-till agriculture and regenerative agriculture. Besides the farmer's market, you have a CSA, correct? Correct. And Ellen Scriven from Killarney Farm. Ellen and Paul were Ellen dragged Paul into it, as I remember. We're part of the founding members of the farmer's market, and they farm on 6+ acres, which is amazing because they produce dipty crops and plant starts in it and that. And they also provide in-cruise ships for any of you who would like to benefit from their tutelage.
Just came away. So we're really picking up in your bass recording.
What you'd like to do is have them talk a little bit about their farms and their history and their passion for what they're doing, and then we'll pack out the paper and papers, and you can write down some questions, and we'll get as far as we can get with those. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
I have to be at Les Schwab by 5 to pick up a truck so I can get home.
Okay.
All right. So let's try and stay on task here.
There's much and KAs and beauty board filling pallets, and it's really done. It's good. And important.
I was setting up the farmer's market today. That's why
Yeah.
I've got paint on me, and we grub around and get it.
Hours working before they even got here, so really.
And we had one other grower, Brad Crass, who has New Flower Farm. He does herbs and herbal preparations, all from his own. He practices regenerative agriculture. He had a family medical emergency come up while we were setting up the market, so he's unable to make it.
Here. I'm recovering from a cold. I'm not contagious anymore. That was last week, but I have a chronic condition where it lingers in my throat for much longer, and that's the reason I did not become the front man of a band. And so that's why I sound this way. And it's the main reason I'll want to use this microphone instead of what I would normally do, which is just project and stuff like that. So I just want to say, yeah, my name is David McKerracher. I am the second generation of McKerracher Family Farm, a regenerative, no-till, certified organic, 2.5 acre farm in Athol, Idaho. Technically Kerrywood, but it's kind of districted as Athol, even though we're in Bonners County. And my mom was not able to make it today because she's doing something. She's got stuff going on at the farm, and my dad's helping at the workday at Kootenai County Market. But I wanted to say it's really special to me to be here for two reasons. And the first one of those is that Ellen here is an absolute legend at the Kootenai County Market. I don't know if you all know. I'm sure you all know. Everyone knows? Oh, okay. You all know. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, to be able to share this with her, that's amazing. And then what's the other reason? Oh, Wendell Berry is, to me, the most important American philosopher. And so I studied continental philosophy. I studied it in college. But it was my exposure to Wendell Berry that made me, I said earlier that he radicalized me. And I think when I said that, it was like, oh, radicalized you, really? It's like, because that, that can have a negative connotation as well. But I think he radicalized me in the positive sense of making me want to be grounded in practice, in labor, in meaningful work, in intergenerational belonging, in returning to my roots and going back to my parents and being able to be there with them and with my wife and our son who's on the way here. And so it's really Wendell Berry that through his philosophy was able to connect me to my roots in my mother's love for Joel Salatin, because Joel Salatin says, I want to write like Wendell Berry. I've always written or tried to write like Wendell Berry. But growing up, I didn't have Wendell Berry, and Joel Salatin was just this, he's cool. But it was reading Wendell Berry that taught me, oh, Salatin is putting into practice Berry's ideas, because Berry was just on a tobacco farm. He didn't ever expand beyond tobacco. And so it's Joel Salatin who's the true innovator of putting his ideas into practice. And so it's very exciting that my little debut here is in the context of Wendell Berry, who I consider to be my sort of philosophical forefather.
Thank you.
I'm supposed to say something?
I don't know what we're supposed to do. Yeah. You're pretty familiar with both of them, I'm sure, Wendell Berry and
somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably not as much as you are.
No. Yeah.
Anybody had any?
We'll do questions. Yeah.
Write them down and we'll get them right.
Okay. No, yeah. Yeah. No. I know over the years, the market have been experiencing like having to expand their region of acceptance, as the community and is growing and land is being used for development versus agriculture. What are you seeing with that now? Like, how many new farms are you seeing, and how far out are they?
Well, there was a time when we really didn't have much representation of a variety of crops within Kootenai County. The market was established to primarily serve growers within Kootenai County, growers and artisans within Kootenai County. Then there was, for a while, we expanded that boundary because there just weren't enough crops, enough people participating in the market. And at this point, we're actually have more people within Kootenai County applying for those grower positions. So while we're still accept some farmers from out of the county and some that have been with the market for quite a time, when we find that, like we've had applications just this year from outside, from actually quite far away, if they have crops that are already, we feel, well represented within the county, we've been turning them down or limiting. We have one of the new farms this year has some stone crop tree fruits like plums and apricots and peaches, which at this point we don't have well represented. So we are accepting them, but we are not accepting some of the products that they would like to bring. So we are still trying to give preference to growers within the county, because that's really our mission. But when we feel like we've got some other crops with, other representation outside of the county, we look further, or people look for our market, and we decide whether to accept them into the market.
I hope we count, because we're
I know you're just right.
we're right on the edge.
Right. But generally, if the farmers that have been with the market for a number of years have invested in the market, we don't generally turn them out of the market once they've established. But for new incoming farmers, I mean, there are plenty of markets in this region, plenty of farmers markets, so that there are other ones they can seek out.
Here's a question. What are row crops?
Huh.
How would you define row crops? Like the gentleman who went from tobacco farming to, he said, I planted, or they were talking about row crops.
I guess. Go ahead.
Is that just to say like a 32-inch row? Like, you're not working with giant machinery. You're dealing with, when it's 32 inches, most people can kind of have a foot on each side and walk along and bend down and weed. I would imagine he's kind of talking about those kind of rows, right?
I think as opposed to maybe a field crop, which
Yeah.
would be an entire planting by the acres, like acreage. A row crop would be something that's planted in rows so that you can access individual rows, whether it's a walkway, you could still have row crops and it be still tractor mechanized, but a row crop would be,
Human scale.
Yes.
Humane scale. Yeah.
I thought the mention of Elliot Coleman's new organic grower was that hit right here, because that was a huge inspiration for me in my beginning days. Like, wow, you can make a living growing on kind of an expanded garden scale, and you can another one that he wrote, Elliot Coleman, is farming the backside of the calendar, meaning you don't have to plant your tomatoes in June and harvest in September. You can, what's called season extension. You can start earlier. You can use protective coverings, or just come up with strategies so that you can harvest a crop in succession more than once. That you can, and that's what has worked really well for supplying a farmer's market, or say supplying a restaurant, giving more extended harvest time.
So I have a question in relation to that. In talking, the guy who converted to the CSA, and didn't he mention something in there like what he was making per acre on the larger scale? And do you have any kind of economic data about, in your own farms?
I know at one point, a figure that's been tossed around for a while is $10,000 an acre, that's gross, 10,000 an acre, and I don't think that's real unrealistic.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we've always accomplished that, but that's not way out of line. When you talk about high value crops, and another key part of that is selling directly to consumers, because
Right.
if you're going through middlemen, if you're going through wholesalers, you can't do. But that means that the farmer or their team is assuming all the responsibilities that a middleman would have.
Right.
I mean, but you're also taking the crop's profit. It's all going to the grower. Other than, there's overhead, like with the farmer's market. We pay some dues. We pay to have our setup. So there's some overhead, but we're basically capturing the value of our crop directly from our customers.
Really exciting. Can you share the best and worst of what you each do? Lifestyle, money, success, time, etc. And thank you.
Should I go ahead on that? I love what I do. I simply love it. I do wake up in the morning with excitement about what I'm going to get to do, that I am actually outside, that I'm calling my own shots. I'm seeing the results of the labor that I've put in. It's very, very satisfying, even after 40, in Killarney, I've been 40 years, and before that I was interning and started out as a little market garden, even before that. I think one of the hardest things is at the end of the day, and I go, I didn't get it all done. I didn't do that. I made a mistake there. I can't keep up with the demands that I make on myself as much as anything. But it's the time required, and as I've gotten older, it's harder to manage that and to keep up the stamina that I once had to do that. And yet I have a really hard time giving up. I don't know what to give up because I really enjoy all of it. And I enjoy bringing the foods to people. I love to think I'm growing food that nourishes the community. And that's one of the highlights for me, is the feedback that I get for that labor, because I love doing it. And when somebody's excited about what we've produced on the farm and the health-giving benefits, that's a thrill. That's a real thrill.
And I think it, like the Berry's wife said, Tanya is saying, hasn't been perfect. There's bad days. Wendell's saying there's days I don't want to do it. But I think when you're tied to the land and tied to those cycles, that that's going to change. It's all going to change. So do you...
I want
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let
I'm ready to go on this question. Yeah. I'm so ready. I've got a handout making the rounds right now. So thank you, Dave, for circulating those. But what you're going to see if you get one of those, and if you look at it and you're done looking at it, you can kind of keep passing it along, and you're welcome to take it home, put it up somewhere, take a picture of it. That'll probably last longer, of course, as they say. But it's for the CSA. It says year-round CSA. And that one has nothing to do with the one that we're passing around. I don't know. There's a couple that are in the stack that don't belong in the stack, probably. We were helping distribute posters for something else as well. But the year-round CSA poster shows some of the stuff that we grow. And in answering the question, I wanted to show, it's one thing to say we have a farm. It's another thing to show what we're growing. And it's one thing to say it's a family farm, and it's another thing to show you the family, because Tyson Chicken is a family farm too. But it's a different scale. It's an inhumane scale. And I wonder how many of them are really family and how many of them are undocumented immigrants who are being exploited, right? I'm guessing the majority. And so in this case, it's just the four of us, as well as Alex, who's around here somewhere. He's interning. Alex, he's interning here. He's from Phoenix, Arizona. He came for a whole month to help out at the farm, which is amazing because my wife, in the last stage of this pregnancy, she's not able to do as much as usual. And so Alex is helping a lot. And so it's the four of us, my mom, my dad, me, and the occasional intern, which is amazing. But 4 people is not a lot, but it is a lot. I don't know if anybody's ever met my mom before, but she's a lot. My dad's a lot. I'm a lot. Anne's a lot. We're all a lot. And I would say that the hardest thing, outside of the market pressures, which are real, is just the people side of things. And that every person who's added into the dynamic brings their own idiosyncrasies, their own preferences, the things that they are perfectionist about, the things that they can't take too seriously, the things that they can't see. It brings their shortfallings. And so we all have our weaknesses and our strengths, and trying to find a way to work together is difficult in a world that's not built for intergenerational farming, where one person hands off the reins to the next person. The world's not built for that. And instead, you're schooled to go into something where you're an individual and you're exchangeable. It's not where, your special hang-ups and abilities are supposed to be integrated into an embedded web with other people. And so figuring that out is the hardest thing. But the best side of it, I would say, is one of the things that I think was really calling to me was remembering growing up out there, because the farm is only 9 years old, but we were homesteading out there from when I was a little kid. And we had a garden. And homesteading means running around in bare feet in the woods and playing. That's part of what it means to me. There was a lot of chores, but it was also a lot of unstructured playtime, and not worrying too much about living in a high crime area of a city or something like that, as we were in Boise when we were teaching at Boise State University. It was a little sketchy where we were living, and it was like, this is not the way to raise a family. We don't want to do that. And it's also not affordable. And so there's trade-offs, but the best gains are, being close to our child's grandparents, having soil that he will be able to put his hands in, berries that he'll be able to pick and eat, animals that he'll be able to be around, and that his younger siblings hopefully also will be able to be around. Like, that's the greatest benefit, is the sunlight, the fresh air, the trees, because it's also awesome to be on a farm that's in the woods. So we get the best of both worlds. We get the farm and we get the woods. It's just it's absolutely irreplaceable.
I hate to interject, but since I'm kind of part of the farm, is it okay if I say something?
Yes, of course.
Cool. Because I think thinking about more broadly, like the hard parts, I think you've both addressed, like, yeah, it's long days, there's financial stresses, but coming into the McKerracher family, Dave is one of 10 kids, and Dave is actually the only of those 10 kids who has expressed any interest at all in the farm. You wanted to buy your parents' old property before we even met 8 years ago. And so we were the ones who committed. And I think maybe it'd be nice to hear from both of you, be kind of a second generation farmer and like a legendary local farmer, How can we attract a younger generation into not just farming and agriculture, but to make it seem like an important and valid way of life, when kind of, I think, we're pushed to go to college and go do the corporate, safe thing, because there are financial concerns related with farming. And how do you make not only the farming life appealing, but how do you make the no-till, organic, regenerative farming appealing to young people? Like, how do we bridge that intergenerational gap? Because none of our peers are doing it. We're the ones who are like, yeah, we want this thing to last. So I would just love to hear, I know what you're gonna say, but I'd love to hear from you, Ellen, as well.
She knows what I'm gonna say. It's true. Give it up for Anne.
I don't know if I have any good answers. I think the intern program is something that we've subscribed to for a long, long time. Unfortunately, we've seen less and less interest, not more and more interest. And we've had people come as interns, and several of them have gone on to, maybe a handful have gone on to do their own farm in some form or another. But a lot of them have cherished the experience, but it was just a passing, they were interested, they have a better understanding of what's behind small scale and organic farming, but it's not their passion. It has to be passion. It has to be passion. I think the hopeful side is that some of the few that have come across my path recently really do want something different from what, for lack of a better word, mainstream, what's most people are being called to. But I wish, all these years I've worried about what the future of small scale farming is going to be if we don't have younger people to that take the passion, that have the passion to follow that.
Next question is, do you eliminate days?
I'll have to go.
But just because Anne knows doesn't mean everyone else does. No, I want to use Anne as a case in point because she was an activist in high school and proceeded to be an activist in college. And I was an activist in college, and we were part of the Bernie movement in 2016 and 2020. And in that era and that kind of activism, you are thinking that the salvation for the problems that we're seeing will come from the state. And in part, potentially to some extent, of course, that's true because a lot of the problems that we're dealing with are also caused by the state and can't be solved without reforms, government reforms. And so Secretary Butts, which was the guy that was being talked about in the documentary, the section on this book, The Unsettling of America, he's the guy who said that we need to turn food into a weapon. He said that. And so Wendell Berry spends a lot of time engaging with the concept of turning food into a weapon and arguing why that's insane. But a weapon in what kind of warfare? It's economic warfare. And one out of many examples that I could give, but I'll be brief, is just to say that the 1970s Farm Bill that Secretary Butts put through that Wendell Berry is focused on made it so that you had to go big or go broke. And it's one of the big reasons that there's been so many suicides and bankrupt farms and everything like that, is because a lot of farmers see what these guys were talking about and they go, that's not for me. That's not what my dad was talking about. That's not what my dream was. I'm not going to go into that. Absolutely not. But why? Why go big? And people today believe that it's necessary to feed the world. It's a lie. It's a lie. These guys are liars. And you could say that they mean well. I don't think a guy like Butts meant well. But what they did want to do was bankrupt farmers in Mexico. They wanted to bankrupt farmers in Mexico, and they did that by artificially cheapening the cost of corn, wheat, and soy in the United States so that we could food dump into the economies of the global South. Right? This is a huge part of the story. It's not the entire story. There's a lot of the stuff that Berry doesn't get into. But as college activists today, we are told that the solution is just through the institutions. And usually the framework that we're given for seeing the problems is one between oppressors and the oppressed. And that's useful to a certain extent. But what's missing is what Wendell Berry talks about here, and he was talking about it back in the 70s. He says the framework of oppressor versus oppressed makes it so that you start thinking, well, we have to choose our sides between groups of people, when the real issue is between nurture and exploitation. It's similar but very different in a crucial way, and that's to say that nurture versus exploitation exists as a problem between all groups and within all groups and within all people. I and you and every one of us every day wakes up and is able to make decisions that help nurture ourselves, one another, and the earth, but we also every day are faced with decisions that exploit ourselves, one another, and the earth. The dividing line between people being oppressor versus oppressed just means, well, I'm either one of the good ones or I'm one of the bad ones. If I'm one of the bad ones, all I can do is try to be an ally to the good ones. And that's what college students are stuck with, is thinking the only solutions are for government bodies to try to pick winners and losers. And that's how we'll have social justice. What's missing is that nurture is something that we can choose and that we can do it on the small scale and the large scale. But we're not going to have it at the large scale if we don't do it at the small scale. And so my answer to Anne about how to get young people involved is to destroy their idea of social change, destroy their idea of oppression versus the oppressed, and to get people excited about the positive, optimistic, and proactive vision for nurturing one another in the earth. And that's something that they can do. And going and working for PETA or Extinction Rebellion or Earth First or the DNC is not actually going to cut it.
I don't say.
I think we all kind of feel we're at a cusp and a turning point there, and hopefully these progressive, forward-thinking visions will take root. So,
Do you sell to any other local grocery stores or just at the farmers market?
Currently, we occasionally sell to Pilgrim's Market. Over the years, there've been, actually before the farmers market was as well attended as it is now, we had some other outlets, mostly local restaurants for a while, Huckleberry's in Spokane and Lorian's in Spokane, but that was many years ago. So our focus is really the farmers market. Pilgrims, they've been very good to us and to local growers, and they've been open to when we have crops that exceed what we can sell at the market. They are interested, not always guaranteed, but they're interested in helping to support local growers.
Not currently selling to restaurants or to grocery stores, mostly dealing with direct drop-offs of the CSAs, and we have locations in Sagal, Athol, Spirit Lake, Hayden, Coeur d'Alene, and Post Falls. So, that's on Fridays, and it's year-round, so we're always bringing these bags out. We also have chickens people come and get from the property. If you want some pastured poultry, you have to come to the property to get it. We can't deliver that legally, but you can come get it from us. But we do have an interest in expanding that way. It's just we're always at capacity, and we're at 3 farmers markets too.
I have a question. How many CSAs on average do you provide every week?
I think it's like 30 right now.
Last year was close to 40 just for the season, but this is the first year we're doing year round, and we have about 30 people signed up. They've been signing up over the last few months. So wanted to see what can we grow in our group houses over the winter.
That was the big change that we brought to the farm as the next generation. My parents are really good at what they're good at, and they're always beyond their capacities, doing so many things, never being able to actually finish any of it because it's all an ongoing process that they're in the middle of. And so we don't want to change a lot. We just want to learn from them. But the main thing that we said is, well, we can at least make the CSA year round. Because during the cold season, when they normally wrap up shop and go see grandkids in other states, we were like, well, that would be the time where we can keep the bags going out. They don't go out as frequently. It's not on a weekly basis. It's every other week. And for the month of January, it's just 1 bag that month. But the nice thing is just to have it year round. It gives us some responsibility early in, where it's just, well, we have to make these bags happen. And that's the time when my mom is taking a break. And so it really does leave us with the reins for a little bit, which is nice.
Great. Question, how has climate change affected your farming?
Hotter, drier summers, and we have limited water where we are. We haven't developed. We're just what we have available is limited, and I think we worry more about running out of water because it's surface spring fed. We have a well, but the well is not sufficient to irrigate the whole farm. So we're mindful of what we're planting when, because we seem to be typically getting drier, more heat, drier.
And you drip your?
Yeah, primarily drip, almost all drip, but it's a gravity feed system. And the ponds that supply that system are at the level of some of our fields, so they don't gravity feed to that. So we, like our early crops are often at the higher point where we have more reliable rainfall. And yeah, there's been some impact. Not as much as not a huge amount.
Overall season extended.
Yes. We never would have dreamed of being able to open the farmers market the first week of May, because we've had snow on the market, snow on the farm well into May, and that hasn't happened in a while. So, now it seems like, why didn't we ever start the market the first week of May before? But it was climate and season, and now it feels like, it makes total sense to start it. The plants are earlier, the people are out earlier, the weather's more settled. And I think growing the backside of the calendar has become easier, because look at the winter we just had. Many crops came through with much less damage than we've seen before in our high tunnels. And
Yeah, I think water is a serious concern for us as well. And, we were dependent on a well, and I would like to have ponds and that kind of thing to, with the gravity fed irrigation, I'd like to be able to expand in that way. And I think that my initial interest in regenerative agriculture was a response to climate change, especially in college. I was a adjunct professor for a class called Thinking About Climate Change. And we would bring in professors from all across campus in different disciplines, including the business department, including the fire, the forest service, and all these military contractors, and just all these different people that you wouldn't even imagine have anything to say about climate change. And the point was to have introduce students to a genuinely interdisciplinary lens, and that was the topic. And so for me, doing that for I think 5 semesters, I really got to know some of the professors and their different perspectives, and begin to think about it as a very complicated problem. It's I would say, outside of Wendell Berry, it was definitely something that made me want to be involved and actually do something.
Okay, I'm gonna present one more question, and sorry, you wrote one and I didn't get to it, but they need to be sensitive to the time here.
And you can come to the farmer's market and sound us out about it. Just come later in the day when it's not too busy.
Can you tell us about your organic, regenerative, sustainable processes and on your farm, and why you do it?
Cool. That's a good one.
Yeah, or more. Go for it.
Yeah. Something my dad likes to say is that the first principle of regeneration is that for it to be sustainable, it also has to be financially viable. And so that's the real hard line to walk, is, every time that you are doing something that could have been done better with some more genuinely permaculture methods, it's like, well, yeah, but can we actually afford that in terms of money and time and energy? And so efficiency is a big part of it. But Joel Salatin is a good model. The problem is that his small farm is 500 acres. Our small farm is 2.5. So we turn to Curtis Stone and Jean-Martin Fortier as our main 2 guys for the smaller scale. So it's like, Joel Salatin's got the vision, we do the chicken tractors, but outside of that, we're really drawing from Curtis Stone and Jean-Martin. And I'd say Jean-Martin is especially good. So Curtis Stone is really good for the money side. Like, how can you make a lot of money on a really small amount of acreage? And he's got a book called The Market Gardener, and that's really good for that if you're interested in the money side. Fortier's got the, I think it's called the No-Till Institute or something like that on YouTube. My mom is just a huge fan of him. And so we've learned from him a lot. No-till doesn't mean you don't do anything with the soil. You do disturb it, but gently. And so when it comes to trying to mirror the way that soil is naturally stressed but never too far, right? That's usually like a bunch of cows going over it. That's a natural cycle. we try to mimic that a little bit with broad forks. And so I'll just use this as my only example because we'd be here all day if I gave a lot of examples. But broad forking the rows is a way so that you're not using a rototiller, which disturbs the layers of the soil. Instead, it just has like these long forks, and you just stick them in, and you just rock it back and forth, and then you move along, and it gets them opened up a bit, gets them ready for the mixing in of the soil and the compost, which we do, and so it's a lot less invasive, and we do tilthing as the part of how you mix in the soil and the fertilizer, which is a way of mixing in just the top few inches, but it doesn't like get down into the deeper ecosystem of that soil. And so, that's one way. And no-till is not realistic for all farms, but for us, we're able to do it, and it's really good. It's really great because it's great for the earthworms, and if it's good for the earthworms, it's good for everybody.
We're not strictly no-till on the farm. We did a couple of years where we absolutely did no tilling whatsoever, and we weren't able to, actually our main hurdle was being able to secure enough quality compost at a reasonable rate to make it work for us.
Yeah.
So we do a lot with what are called green manures, meaning we plant soil building crops on the land. A lot of legumes, some oats, things like that to try to build the soil and add to the organic matter. We're all about adding organic matter to the soil as the sustainable method of nurturing the soil. We do use, it's kind of like a tractor-drawn broad fork. We use what's called a chisel plow, and it doesn't flip the soil or stir it around, but it does break it up. We're on very heavy clay. Anything that we're growing in topsoil is topsoil that we've built on top of the clay by the addition of organic matter over the last, 40 years, really. Some of that consisted of manure, but a lot of it was the crops that were tilled in, including crop residues, but also crops specifically grown to feed the soil. We do some tilling, mostly just as a bed preparation, and it's often very shallow. It's done in the top few inches. I'm poised to get a tilther and see what we can do with that. I've actually, over the years, not been real thrilled with what constant tilling has done as far as the soil structure. So I've been pushing more for, we've stepped back from as much tilling as we did in the past, but to turn those crops into the soil, seems like it's our best option. We did try a flail mower, which means you mow, but then you've still got to prepare that heavy clay in some way, open it up. One thing that's worked really well in some seasons is when a crop is planted in the fall and it dies, like an oat crop that dies back, the tilth underneath that dead cover crop is beautiful. It does not require tilling. It's already loose and ready to plant. So we still have a lot to learn with minimizing, going more minimal on the tilling. But for us, and we did broad fork for a while too, and our bodies just can't handle that anymore.
It requires young men. An ample supply. Yeah. Thank you.
That's
awesome.
We thank you all for coming. If you're not a member of the Environmental Alliance, keep doing stuff like this.
Oh, and you can find me at the New Leaf Market on Tuesdays from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. Because Ann does the Athol Farmers Market, my mom does Kootenai, and then I do the New Leaf Market in Hayden, which is a beautiful nursery for those who don't know. You can get plants there. So, yeah. Also did the Kootenai Market a few times, yeah.